gangster known simply as King Blood, had a nation of fervent followers.
He was a charismatic, sort of revered leader. Whether that had any justification in fact or not is, another question. But he was looked upon almost cultishly as a leader of the Latin Kings.
The godfather of the group.
He was the king, King Blood.
People were moved by his words, and they followed his orders.
He just wouldn't let anybody alone. If he considered them his enemy, they had to die.
The man known as King Blood came from Havana, Cuba.
He didn't know his father. His mother was a sex worker. He had got in trouble in Cuba when he was like 17 or 18. He was doing prison time.
In 1980, Fidel Castro tried to cleanse his island of the undesirables. Felipe was forced from his homeland.
Castro ordered 125,000 deviants, really, the unwashed of Cuba, forced them to leave and go to Miami.
I felt like a prisoner of the sea. You don't even know if you will survive the present night.
In the early 1980s, Luis Felipe turned up in Chicago. He found work on the backside of Arlington Park. Within this Midwestern migrant community, he found a home, a street gang named the Latin Kings.
Look at the history of gangs anywhere you go. Chicago is like the motherland of gangs.
The Latin Kings gave Luis Felipe a discipline and a history.
Our religion is kingism. Kingism is basically any belief, any God that you believe in. If it makes you a better person, it makes you understand things better, then we accept that as kingism. Any belief, any religion that any person has, we still accept that. You could be Muslim. As long as you follow the rules and regulations we have, then it's all good.
The 5 points of the manifesto, like 5 points of a king's crown.
Honor, obedience, sacrifice, righteousness, love. When a member gives another member the nation's salute, it should always be returned.
Our salute represents our willingness to die for each other. Basically, we're saying, Amolder, King Love. When we greet them, we throw up the crown, and then we give a hug at the end.
And they're living in that kind of subcultural world, their own laws and their own kind of practices and rituals.
Within the Latin Kings in Chicago, Luis Felipe found his identity.
I was about gang banging, shot people, killed people. I've been shot and killed myself.
In Chicago, they gave him the name, King Blood.
In upstate New York, he would create his own kingdom. Within months, his manifesto began spreading through the New York State prison system and on to the streets of Manhattan.
They start claiming areas of Brooklyn and the Bronx and Manhattan. A particular moment when the streets in the barrios and the ghettos were very much controlled by the crack gangs. The group was never a drugs organization, but they claimed territory around the selling of the drugs, claiming areas from the drug dealers.
Within this volatile mix of drug markets and turf battles, Felipe became the final word on every issue. By 1994, a series of bizarre killings targeting young Latin men had a new mayor and his men baffled. A headless torso wrapped in a rug, a body on a rooftop missing tattoos. In upstate New York, the Department of Corrections had the clues to make the case.
He's writing on education, he's writing on national liberation, he's writing on women's issues, he's writing on how we have to stand firm against these traitors. We're going to go against this person. We're going to TOS, terminate on sight, kill that person.
They're fake-ass snitches, and a TOS must be issued.
King Blood, already behind bars, was arrested on June 21st, 1994, and charged with murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to murder.
All he did was write letters. He wasn't guilty of killing anyone. You understand?
King Blood got it done in prison. Scares me to think what would happen if he was out of prison.
The prosecution team charged the Latin Kings under the RICO statutes, the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. Passed in 1970, the RICO Act was created to prosecute criminal enterprises.
RICO had been used against the mafia. RICO had been used against mini groups, but it had never been used against street gangs.
When all his co-defendants pled guilty, he was the only Latin king to stand trial. But Luis Felipe was not alone.
You know, I remember the gallery of the courtroom would be filled with gold and black, you know, Latin kings all over.
When Blood comes in, this mass of people, 60, 70 Latin kings at least, all stand up and in unison say, Amor de Rey, the Latin King's salute, and all sit down. Every day of this trial, that's what would happen. I doubt I will ever see anything like that again.
I went in the courtroom. All I seen was marshals. They had them from wall to wall all around us. And then the verdict came.
Guilty on all 18 counts against him.
Felipe sort of turned to us and just shook his head, and he was let off. You could feel behind you a kind of rumbling and reverberation that is not something I've typically felt in a courtroom. That was the one moment in the trial that I would say was unsettling.
On February 14th, Valentine's Day, 1997, Judge John Martin sentenced Luis Felipe for his crimes. Life without the possibility of parole, to be served in solitary confinement.
You sentenced me to die day by day? Nobody could write to me? Nobody could send money to me? Nobody could care about me no more?
It hurt us more than it hurt him, because he knew he had to pay for what he did. But what hurt him the most is the way, I think in his head, he probably had an idea that we was gonna crumble.
Felipe was sent to a state-of-the-art Supermax federal prison in Florence, Colorado.
A facility that housed Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, Timothy McVeigh, Ramzi Youssef, and a number of other fairly infamous murderers. The worst of the worst.
He recognized I'm gonna be here for life. I'm coming out of here in a box when I die. He already accepted.
You can now say to the group, see? You see how much they fear us? You see how much they hate us?
I will have a king's patience and not despair. We must know when to rest and when to attack.
When you get a group of people and you're giving them an idea and telling them, look, we gotta stand up for ourselves. You see a bunch of Spanish dudes getting disrespected or getting abused, you might have to stand up. Because if they do it to them, eventually they're gonna come to me.
They replace the family, and the organization becomes a family.
This secret elite society is made up of great men of honor, courage, boldness, self-respect, pride, and most importantly, silence.
King Blood's writing are still here and they're not going nowhere. If I was to see him right now, I would tell him that he didn't go down in vain. We're still here and we're still fighting and we're still living the dream that he put forth for us. And as long as there's kings in New York, that's never gonna die.